This is a pretty wild camera rig concept, and I'm guessing you probably haven't seen anything quite like this. So I want to show you how simple it is to do this, why you would do it, and some of the benefits and advantages of filming this way. As you can see, I've got two cameras stacked on top of each other. If I was holding this in one hand, very easy, very doable. It does get heavy, but no heavier than many other cinema rigs out there. And the benefit is you get two different cameras. On the bottom, I have a 42.5mm lens, which would be an 85mm full frame equivalent. And on the top, I have a 9mm wide angle focal length, which would be an 18mm equivalent. Now you might be wondering, why have the longer lens on the bottom? Normally you would think these could be inverted, and that'd certainly be easy enough. You just switch the lenses because these are the same camera mount. On the bottom I have a GH6, and on the top I have a G9 Mark II, and I'll explain why I did that. But this setup works this way because a lot of the times your action is down low. It's hands on a tabletop or something happening in someone's hands, and hands are below people's faces, usually. If you're focused just on faces, I might say switch these lenses, but if you're focused on action, your bottom close-up camera can get all those action details, while your top wide angle films the entire scene. The reason I have the G9 Mark II up top is because it's got great phase detect autofocus. So basically, as long as there's a face or a human body in the scene, this camera is gonna have it in focus. I can shoot shallow and not worry about it hunting, tracking focus. And the bottom camera, I can manual focus, just like I would any other time. But now I have the peace of mind that I have a wide shot up top while I get all my close-up details down low. You don't even need this monitor here. This is a Shinobi monitor. I just was showing how you could rig it. It's mounted to the hot shoe on the bottom camera. You could rig it even taller, but I think that would look probably pretty ridiculous. This thing already kind of looks a little strange. But the advantage of having these lenses so close together is that your subject doesn't really have to worry about where they're looking. As long as they're looking in this general vicinity, you can film them either way. And they don't get distracted by a camera off to the side or wonder, where am I supposed to be looking? They're looking at you right here. Perfect for content creation, YouTube, when you want a wide shot and a close-up and you really can only afford one person maybe, or you just want to do it yourself, it's all in one. Of course, you could build it out with additional things like microphones. There's plenty of spots still available to rig with 1/4-20s, 3/8, cold shoes. You can build so much on top of this if you want, but the beauty is it's as simple as just two cameras on top of each other. In fact, if I remove this monitor, I'll show you really the secret that holds it together. In between the two cameras is a SmallRig Arca Swiss plate. It's got a 3/8 inch going into this cage at the bottom, and the nice thing about these SmallRig cages is that the bottom of the cage is an Arca Swiss plate, so you can slide the cage right on. With no extra plates or screws or mounting points, it just slides right on. Get it lined up, secure it into place, and now you can shoot two cameras all right by yourself. There are some limitations though. You really need to keep your subject center of the frame. When you're trying to line things up, if you've got cameras stacked like this, you kind of need to be able to follow action with both. But for me, I'm usually capturing action down here on the bottom with manual focus and letting this top camera run autofocus with subject detection. However, there are circumstances where the framing isn't quite right, so here's the advantage of using the Lumix cameras. If I film open gate, 4x3, I have extra resolution vertically to move the frame up and down. So if I'm tilted a little bit too high or a little bit too low, or my framing isn't quite right, I have that extra vertical resolution to reframe in post to get my composition perfect. This is a really subtle thing, and you kind of have to do it to understand, but by filming open gate in this way, you can ensure that whatever you're filming gets framed properly, even if it's not perfect in the moment. But for the most part, when you're using these lenses, a wide and a close-up, it works really, really well. And again, if you want to focus on faces, just switch the lenses. Put your longer focal length on top, wider focal length on the bottom, and that's all you have to change. Still run autofocus on the top camera if you have something like the G9 Mark II that has good phase detect autofocus, and then worry about manual focus on your bottom camera. When I saw that this style plate was an option, it immediately unlocked so many possibilities in my mind of just simplifying and streamlining. This was actually based on a version of a 3D camera rig that I had built, but once I realized that I could film two different shots right on top of each other in this small of a package, in this lightweight of a package, I knew it was something I was going to start taking advantage of. In previous versions of this setup, when I had two GH6s stacked, syncing timecode was even easier because you can actually run timecode out from one camera into timecode in the other camera with one simple wire. If you want to power both cameras off the Titan base bottom, you can do that. Split the USB-C, have another run up here to power that top camera. If you want to monitor both cameras beyond the built-in LCD screens, you can do that too. Add more monitors. It really comes down to what you're comfortable holding, because I love the benefits of handheld shooting. So if you can carry the weight, put whatever you want on here. Of course, if you want to sync your cameras and you don't have this exact configuration, you can get these Tentacle Sync devices. They are great for running timecode to any number of cameras. As long as you have a good autofocus on your top camera, you could probably run this however you like. Sony, Canon, Lumix, Nikon, Blackmagic, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have a camera that can kind of run itself up top and you remember to hit record on both of them while you're filming. But for me, those advantages of open gate filmmaking on the Lumix system make it a no-brainer for this type of work. Of course, you could go for the full-frame Lumix cameras like the S5 Mark II, which has great autofocus similar to the G9 Mark II, but I opted for the Micro Four Thirds system just to keep everything really lightweight. This is an f1.2, but look how small it is. This is a 1.7 9mm lens. Look how small it is. Bigger isn't always better, especially when you start combining cameras in this way. So I like the Micro Four Thirds system for the lightweight flexibility that it provides. And you can do cool, unique stuff like this that you probably wouldn't ever even considered if you were filming something like an Ursa, an Arri, or even a Red. Certainly not perfect for every production, but for a variety of things, I really like the flexibility that it offers. And it's a lot of fun just to be able to do it. You're going to avoid that punched in, scaled in look of just cropping in to something you filmed wide. You get true wide, true close up, all in one. And this is a perfect way to do it with cameras that match color and make post-production all that much easier. Just always remember, hit record on both cameras.